I'll go ahead and say it right now. This is the nicest laptop I have ever held in my hands. Probably the nicest computer I've ever owned. You can see the vent on the back, see the hinges, and even though they call this a silver, it's got a little bit more of that grayish silver. I don't want to call it a corporate look because this is better than any corporate notebook I've ever bought or used or seen. Here you see the ports on the side, the USB-C, Thunderbolt, USB 3.0, power, headphone jack, mini Ethernet, USB 3.0 and HDMI. There's also a port for a lock. And then of course, the stylus. We'll see how this works out for me as I start to use this. As an example, this is a Pigma Micron Sakura. I use this frequently for notes taking, maybe even sketching. A lot of artists like these pens. And you can see that they're quite close in size. I've heard people complaining about the size of this stylus, but Lenovo has created something that is in the same ballpark as what's considered a very nice premium pen. I think these pens sell for several dollars each. And so this stylus, over 2,000 points of sensitivity on it, fits right here in the edge of the notebook. It's a very sleek, modern, nice device. Of course, you have your ThinkPad logo on the front, but it slightly blends in, and the X1 identifier. There's a little bit of texture there. That one is painted on, it feels. I did not get an LTE or some sort of SIM version, but this is where an SD card slot or SIM is available. I'm not going to pop that off. So some people like to push on these things to test the keyboard flex. That feels okay to me so far. I'll have to do a deeper review once I start using it. But otherwise, it's a very nice looking device. And yes, you could use this in a business environment and people would just think you're special for having an extra nice business laptop. Something else that I got that I thought was important for me, you can see it here, is I think they call it the Think Shutter. You can see a little red dot up here. That's the, of course, ThinkPad red dot. And that tells you that your camera is now covered. So even if I turn on camera, nothing would be visible. And that is a very small switch. It blends in right with the seam of the laptop there. Doesn't stick out at all. Well, just enough to actually use the switch. It's got a slight indent on it to get some grip and open that up. But otherwise, I really like this. Now that means I don't get the Windows Hello feature where it can recognize my face, but I don't really like the idea of my face being in someone's database or however Microsoft decides to spy on people these days. But I wanted this because I like the idea that even if I do get hacked, even if someone is spying on me, there is a physical button here and there's a physical shutter to close that off. So that's why I went with that route. It also comes with the HDR high definition screen that I purchased in my configuration. And supposedly this also, because I went with the HDR screen, comes with Dolby Vision, something to do with the audio visual experience. You can see some vents here on the back. Of course, that's the stylus. The speakers are here, 2 slots on both sides, and you can see it's a little bit on the depression of the laptop where it starts to curve out. It's not a high quality going to a concert level of speakers. No one expects that, but I think that's a little better than some of the options available to. It's a little subtle, but there is a Lenovo, it's on the bezel, Lenovo imprint, and it also has X1 Yoga written over here very faintly, and they're not stickers. First impressions, this is thin, this is light, and of course you can see the keys suck into the device, and they even become, I mean, you can kind of still press on them, but not really. And there you go. Even in tablet mode, that thing sits nice and flat. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this device. I'll slowly push this down and see when the there you go. Right around there is when the keyboard starts to pop out. So if it lays flat open like this, your keyboard's fully raised. Once it goes about there, maybe, it's sucked back in, maybe a little lower, to get your keys even with the base of the keyboard. As you close it, the keyboard also collapses, so it really collapses fully despite being very thin. And Lenovo's really pulled off quite the device here. Thanks for joining me.